In today's 101 lesson, we're going to talk about a technique and actually a style that I really enjoy playing. And in fact, it's a question that I get a lot of times when I'm out playing at different churches or doing workshops and clinics, and that is, how do you play gospel music? And for me, I can remember growing up as a kid in the church, and I was surrounded by gospel music. Now, gospel is referred to as black gospel typically because it has its roots in the African American church. And I didn't grow up in a black gospel church, but for us to be white, we were about as close as you could get to it. I can remember growing up with just surrounded with choir music from Christ Church, Brooklyn Tab, Jaron Davis, and then a few years later, Fred Hammond came out, Israel Houghton, Kirk Franklin, all those kinds of guys, and it just really changed who I was as a keyboard player. And because gospel has its roots in the African American church, there's a lot of different styles that really make that up. It's got a lot of heritage and a lot of emotion and feeling. And in that, there's a lot of soul, R&B, you'll find jazz, even all the way back to spirituals. And so one of the key elements of gospel music is just a lot of emotion, a lot of feeling in the playing. And it's not just something you can sit down and play by rote or just read off a page. I've known great musicians who couldn't read a lick of music, and yet they were some of the best gospel players out there. I mean, you just need to go to YouTube and search gospel music, and you'll find some guys that can't even tell you what they're playing, but they are phenomenal gospel musicians. And then I've put a piece of music in front of just some players that could just sight read anything you put in front of them, and they'll play it, but it just lacks that X factor, and it's just missing that emotion and that feeling. So that's one of the big keys to playing gospel music, is just having that emotion, that feeling. And so one of the big keys to learning how to play gospel is to listen to gospel. You got to listen to that kind of stuff in order to really get it into you. Now, there are a lot of techniques that you can learn to play that gospel intertwines and uses so that you can play gospel. But again, like I said, you have to have the emotion and the feeling. And so that's what we're going to take a look at today in this 101 on how to play gospel. To give you an example of what gospel is like, I'm going to play a very familiar song that I'm sure we all know, and that's Amazing Grace. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it very hymn-like, very straight, like many players would play it, and then I'm going to play it with a gospel flair. And in the upcoming chapters, we'll talk about some of the techniques. So for now, for that hymn-like version, it sounds like this. So as you can see, very simple. You can definitely hear the main melody. And basically I'm just using three chords. I'm using G, C, and D, which is also the 1, 4, and 5. Now, that's very hymn-like, very straight. My left hand is just kind of doing 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 3, 1, and just kind of giving a nice pulse, while my right hand, I'm playing the melody while playing the right chord changes. So again, very plain Jane, very straight. Now if I were to play that again with a gospel flair, it could sound something like this. So as you can see, it's much different than just the hymn-like fashion. There's a lot going on there. And so as you can see, there's some big differences. The chords that I use, the feeling, there's kind of a swing to it versus just being kind of straight. And so in these upcoming chapters, we're going to talk about the different techniques that you can pull out of what I just played in order to play gospel music. Now again, one of the big things is there's a lot of feeling in gospel music, a lot of emotion when you play. You just kind of have to feel it as you play. And in order to do that, you need to listen to gospel music. But for now, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these different techniques that you can use in learning how to play gospel. Be sure to click the link and head over to worshipartistry.com where you can sign up for a free account today. Every lesson comes with a music video where you can change different video angles, as well as step-by-step instruction for different sections of the song. We also have loop videos that you can practice along to, as well as sheet music, chord charts, guitar tabs, and a whole lot more. So what are you waiting for? Click the link and sign up for a free account today.